As much as I like to think that these changes are part of a grand master plan from YouTube in reaction to the struggles that they've had recently to completely reform the platform, I think the truth is a lot simpler. I actually think that there is an elephant in the room. So some of you have actually noted on this channel I have a really bad memory, but I do have a couple memories that are completely random and not really anything that I would consider significant, but I've held on to them for some reason. So I have this memory from when I was probably like 7 or 8 years old, where I was with my mom and my siblings and we were in some public area, a bank or something, and the fellow in front of us was handing cash to a teller and dropped some coins. I bent down and picked up a penny and retrieved it for him. I guess I was always kind of taught, respect your elders, and if you can help somebody out with something, go ahead and do it. So this penny fell somewhere near my feet, and I reached up to hand it to the fellow, and he gave me this very peculiar sort of look and shook his head. I think he was embarrassed, and he turned back to the teller. And I turned back to my mom, and I remember just being really confused, like, what had I done wrong? As a 7-year-old, I mean, a penny, the difference between a penny and a quarter maybe wasn't so significant as the fact that it's all money. That was a penny candy or 1/5 of a piece of chewing gum or something. That had some meaning. And rather than be excited that I got to keep this penny, I remember being a little bit perturbed. Why didn't this guy want his penny back? I honestly think had I picked that penny up for anyone else in my family, they would have gratefully taken it back or picked it up themselves. Even today, I've always been raised on the idea that there's value in every penny counts. And it's not about being rich or poor, it's just about, saving and being grateful for what you have and being resourceful and realizing that how you build up equity and value is really in making the most of everything that you have access to. And that, in a long roundabout kind of way, is why I both have a beef with most of the people defending the YouTube partnership program changes, and yet I still kind of support the YouTube partnership program changes. So I know I'm a little bit late to the party. Everyone else has already commented on this, but as a new creator who's actually affected, I think I maybe have sort of a different perspective, and I wanted to share it with you guys today. And of course, before we continue, the pitch, you guys know the drill. I'm under 1,000 subscribers, trying to reach that goal so I can get back in the partner program. So if you enjoy this video, please hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. So for those who don't know, very, very briefly, YouTube changed basically the requirements for the partner program, which now just is what they call the program where you can monetize your videos. The requirements used to be 10,000 views on any or all videos, and now it's 4,000 hours of watch time in the last year on your videos, plus a minimum of 1,000 subscribers to even apply to gain entry to the program at which you might be able to monetize your videos. And there's all kinds of things that factor into the math, but it's, pennies on the view. It typically is about, I think, $1 per 1,000 views, so fractions of a penny on the view. And I think that's why, in the perspective of a lot of YouTube creators who are more established on the platform, this is such an insignificant impact on smaller channels that they don't really see what the big deal is about. And I guess that's why I've probably seen a lot of YouTube help channels and kind of social media advice channels and forums and articles stating that, this really isn't gonna have a big impact, if any impact, on new creators. It's really not a big deal because, yeah, you might have been in the partner program before, but with under 1,000 subscribers and under 4,000 hours of watch time, you would have been making so little money that it's completely insignificant, and it's not going to have any impact on your channel if you are really committed to the platform and you work hard and you post often. And I think even YouTube had a statement that like 90% of the YouTubers who this would affect, were making less than $90 a year or something. I'm not sure if that's the exact stat, but YouTube was basically using the same defense. And that might be true for 90% of users, but I know there's also a lot of folks, and I don't know a lot of YouTubers, but I personally know, I'm thinking like 5 or 6 people in my direct circle who this actually will kind of affect. And these are folks who are making between $20 and $75 a month, and they are not going to, or maybe just barely going to, squeak by under the new partnership rules. Personally, I just sort of started toying around with YouTube a few months ago, and I say toying around because I haven't really taken it super seriously to this point. I'm still getting up to that level, and I'm trying to post weekly now, and I'm trying to define my brand better. But for the past few months, I've really just been experimenting on the platform. And yet, with the very first video that I made, I surpassed the 10,000 view partnership program threshold, quickly got entry into the program, and basically riding on the success of 3 of the first videos that I ever posted, I've been pulling in about $50 a month. $50 a month is not a lot. It's not a living wage, obviously. But again, going back to appreciating the value of every penny, that actually is kind of significant in some very tangible, real ways. So for example, one of the things that's bothering me lately is that every video I post here at my workstation, I kind of look the same putrid, green, yellow, weird color as the back wall. I have the room lights and this weird kind of Chinese lantern type thing. And you know, the bulbs, the color doesn't even match, and no matter how I white balance it on my camera, everything just kind of has this weird yellow greenish tinge to it. I'd love to invest in some lights. I'm using a nicer microphone, which I bought partly for this purpose. That was another $150. Another expense that I forgot to mention is hard drives, and even with the little amount that I've been publishing, you know, I just try and save the videos in case they're not available on YouTube at some point. And shooting and editing everything in 4K, I eat up a lot of hard drive space, and I have to buy a new hard drive for my video projects, you know, a couple times a year. Total investment with everything that I would need to make this channel run, I don't think I would top $1,000. That's not a lot compared to a lot of hobbies, but still it's $1,000. However, if you're pulling in $50 a month, in 2 years, if you do that hobby, if you keep that hobby for 2 years, it's paid for itself. So that actually would impact whether or not I would consider continuing YouTube, granted as a hobbyist, but I think even YouTube would benefit from supporting people who are maybe just hobbyists on this platform, as long as they're providing consistent content that people are actually watching. I believe that they do actually want to kind of foster that type of activity, and what they're really trying to weed out, of course, is people who are abusing the platform. Another way to look at it is $50 a month covers my Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, and that's something that I talked about in my review recently of Adobe Creative Cloud 2018. I used to use that exclusively for work, but now that I'm doing less freelance and more working for other companies, I don't really need that subscription so much, but I still use it obviously to edit all of my YouTube content, create my thumbnails in Photoshop, etc. And if I was pulling in $50 a month from YouTube, perfect. That goes straight to Adobe Creative Cloud, that covers the expenses, and it means that this is not a hobby that's putting me in the red. But again, if you're not making that $50 a month because YouTube decides that your videos aren't monetizable versus other videos that are identical in terms of quality or even views from more established channels with more subscribers, then it's harder to justify the costs involved. And I can only imagine that if I was, for example, a high school student or a middle school student, there's a lot of kids on this platform, and I kind of feel for them especially. If I was, 12 or 13 making $50 a month, if I didn't have time to have another part-time job, that could be my only source of revenue. And if that's the only way that I get money to work on longer videos or short films or other projects for YouTube, not only is that really exciting and awesome that that can exist as part of this platform, but I think that would have a big impact on whether or not I decided to continue using YouTube. And the people that I really feel for are the folks who have been on YouTube for 3, 4, 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years in some cases, and they really have a very loyal but very small fan following. It's not enough for them to generate even thousands of views sometimes on their videos. It might be that their topics are so niche. It might just be that they are not very showy or don't do a lot of advertising or search engine optimization. Yes, there's things that they could be doing to boost their views, but the truth is they create content that has value for them and people in their direct community, and it's nothing that's going to ever earn them a lot of money, but because they have content going back 6, 7, 8 years, it might be, again, enough to cover the expenses associated with YouTube or buy them a little bit of time to continue to create YouTube videos. And the fact that these partner programs don't take into account how long you've been on the platform, I think is a bit of an oversight, in that some of these folks are talking now about leaving the platform just because they're going to be losing their, $25, $50 a month, which they were really relying on to keep going. And they've been doing this for years and years and years. So especially for folks like that, I find it a little bit rich to say, hey, this wasn't actually impacting you, so never mind, it's not a big deal. Well, no, I think it's really oversimplistic to assume that $10, $15, $20, or $50 a month doesn't have an impact for somebody. Everyone's different. Everyone's living on a different wage in a different part of the world where this sort of money means a different thing to them. It might only be 10% of creators who it's really affecting monetarily in YouTube's eyes, but I think it's up to the individual creators whether or not this is a big deal to them. And it's a really complicated platform, and I think it's, YouTube essentially had to just make a decision about how they were going to prioritize monetization and ads. And it makes sense that they came to a decision, and it makes even more sense that they didn't complicate it by, making all kinds of different rules for different people with different, durations on YouTube and just divide further their community. But I think these unusual sort of edge cases are unfortunate. And that's why I feel like it's just sort of condescending for bigger YouTubers to make videos stating that this isn't a big deal monetarily, that everyone's going to be fine, and that we should really just get over it. And then there's this other argument that because basically new YouTubers who don't stick it out and who don't really deserve to be rewarded for their lack of commitment to the platform, then more ads are going to appear on the videos of people who stick it out and really commit to the platform, and that's a good thing because they deserve the revenue more. Anytime you start to use language like deserve around something like YouTube, it just rubs me the wrong way. There is no deserve. What we all deserve is basically to live by the same algorithm, which we do, basically to have the same opportunities in terms of storytelling, in terms of marketing and branding those stories, in terms of search engine optimization, and the tools that come with the platform. And we all have the same opportunity. So somebody who's basically comes to YouTube one day a year, because that's their choice, has the same opportunity to make a video that's just as successful as somebody who posts 12 times a day. And obviously the person who posts 12 times a day is going to get way more subscribers, and they're going to get way more revenue because they have way more videos and because they have a bigger following. They deserve what they get, but guess what? The person who posts the one video a year that puts a lot of thought and time and passion into that one video a year, and it's just their thing that they do every year, that imaginary person also deserves the revenue that they would get from that one video, in my mind. And I would say, we all still have equal footing because everyone has the same threshold that they know that they need to pass to get into the partner program. So I don't have an issue with that. But again, using terminology around deserve or not deserve is sort of problematic to me when you're saying that somebody doesn't deserve the revenue because they're not taking YouTube seriously or making it a job. I love the fact that YouTube has the potential to reward users who aren't doing it as a job. I don't know how to put this. There's a lot of YouTubers that I really watch and respect, and I love that they have a full-time job doing what they love and creating amazing content. But there's a whole other group of YouTubers that I watch because YouTube is not their job. You know what I mean? These are folks who just share part of their everyday lives, part of their experience, part of their careers, and they're so super real because they're not trying to be anything else. They're using YouTube just like they would use Twitter or Facebook or another platform, not to market themselves or brand themselves or reinvent themselves or sell their products, just to be themselves. And while I can understand that the folks who basically rely on this as a full-time wage, obviously it benefits them more to have that degree of security and stability. They don't deserve the eyeballs more on their content than anyone else. The people who deserve the views are the people who get the views, is what I'm trying to say. And I think it makes sense that the revenue follows the eyeballs. Basically, the advertisers want eyeballs. The creators draw eyeballs. The viewers are eyeballs. I somehow totally lost my train of thought. I just like saying eyeballs. I think you guys know what I'm saying. And my other beef, I guess, is folks who, claim that they're here because they just like the sharing and they're not here for the money. And yet they say that this change is crushing small YouTubers, it's destroying the platform, YouTube hates new creators, and sort of victimizing themselves and other small YouTubers. And I have a bigger beef with this narrative than the one that it's not going to affect small YouTubers at all. The proof is in the pudding, and YouTube existed, and not only existed, but thrived for years and years and years with no revenue at all. In fact, the golden years, what we all look back on fondly as the golden years of YouTube, guess what? People were not making six figures creating YouTube content. This was just a social media platform, again, like any other. None of us expects to make $50 a month, let alone, $1,500 a month from Twitter or from Facebook or from Tumblr or Snapchat, directly from the platform owner. Ads are served on all of those platforms, and as creators, we get none of the pie. I'm not saying that's the way it should be, but the truth is it always functioned that way just fine. And generally people have appreciated the ability just to get their voice out there, to share their opinion, and to build a community. That kind of boggles my mind how this is somehow just a God-given right that everyone who's on YouTube is supposed to be paid for their time doing something that they're claim to enjoy doing. And another line that I've heard a few times just in the last week is, YouTube fired me. YouTube never hired you. Did you ever actually submit your resume to YouTube? Did YouTube give you a job interview and weed you out of other prospective applicants and decide that you should get the revenue versus anyone else? No, YouTube is an open platform. YouTube takes money from however many advertisers in any given month want to place ads. Those ads work on sort of an auction system, determining the price of the ads. YouTube takes a cut of the ads, which they've always been really upfront and clear about. They give the rest to the creator of the video that people happen to be watching that are associated with the content that's appropriate to that ad, according to the ad supplier. Just because it's your job does not mean YouTube is your boss. As a freelancer, I know that as a client, if somebody decides that, I wear a purple hoodie and they met somebody else once who wore a purple hoodie who made a really distasteful video in Japan last year, and so they're basically going to go with a different graphic designer. They don't want to work with me anymore. You know what? That's their right. But at the end of the day, that person is not firing me because they never hired me. I work for myself, I provide a service, and it's up to me to adapt that service so that I can continue to find work. And full-time YouTubers should know this. They should understand this. It might be looking to different platforms for revenue. It might mean changing the way that their channel functions for revenue. But YouTube never guarantees you a set amount of income because you're not even a contractor for YouTube, let alone a full-time employee. You are a freelancer. As much as I like to think that these changes are part of a grand master plan from YouTube in reaction to the struggles that they've had recently to completely reform the platform, I think the truth is a lot simpler. What I'm talking about is piracy. Piracy has been an issue on YouTube obviously for a long, long time. They have a number of really, really great tools to combat it. They have kind of a content ID system where they fingerprint digital files and identify matching files so that big studios can load their feature films, for example, on the platform and then identify when somebody's uploaded it. They have the same thing for music. There's some downsides to this because it means often cases of fair use are kind of thrown in with all the actual pirates, and there's very little way that creators can dispute it when a copyright strike occurs on their channel. We all kind of know those struggles. I've experienced it. I think a lot of creators have experienced it. But the much bigger issue for YouTube is that there's still thousands of cases that aren't addressed by that content ID system at all because it's not content that comes from big studios or big corporations, because the videos are posted in creative ways. They flop the video or they put filters over the video. Sometimes it's things stolen that aren't even available online otherwise or might not have digital files for. And there's all kinds of examples of copyright where people steal content from other social media platforms or even just other YouTube creators and create compilations and get tons of ad revenue without doing any of the actual work. And sort of in the same vein as that is videos that I think spread misinformation deliberately. They pick up on a certain trend. They post videos that they claim, reveals some amazing truth or is, some incredible footage. And usually it ends up being not true. Sometimes it's very misguiding. Sometimes it's hateful. These are, the classic sort of examples of things that advertisers really do not want their ads to appear on. I think there's one common thread with the channels that all of this type of content comes from. And that's basically that they post very few videos but get massive views because they're posting content that people are otherwise already looking for, or they're driving traffic to the content even though they know it's probably not lawful and does not abide by YouTube's policies. These channels know that the videos that they post will be flagged at some point. The channels will probably be taken down, but they'll just create a new channel and post the content again somewhere else. And why? Well, because it's worth it to them, even financially, monetarily. Often these Hollywood or TV movies, when they go on YouTube, get 500,000 views before they're pulled, even if the studio has the means and the resources to actually go after them. And so the pirates who are posting this content make, sometimes hundreds or thousands of dollars or even tens of thousands of dollars before the content is removed, and then they can just go ahead and create another channel and repeat the process. Rinse, repeat. That's their business model, sad to say. Those are the folks that I think these policy changes are really directed towards. I think that's the elephant in the room here. And it is actually an issue. It might not be an issue for you right now because you're not a Hollywood studio, but guess what? It's an issue for you when the big studios and big companies, when Disney, that now owns all these networks, pulls the plug on YouTube and says, not only are we never going to advertise on the platform again because so much of our pirated content is featured on your platform, but we're not going to post shows there that are getting you ad revenue. We're not going to post video clips from, the personalities and the celebrities that are part of our network. We're not going to cooperate with you anymore. We're going to go onto this other platform, maybe something from Amazon or Facebook. Excuse the term, but we're going to go to these other platforms that has their shit together because that's where we feel more valued and safer. So the point is that could be Adpocalypse 4.0, and I think YouTube is taking reasonable steps to avoid that scenario so that none of us have to deal with the consequences of more advertisers moving off the platform. The other positive impact I think that this is going to have is that YouTube is basically going to have more time to nurture the creators that are the most active on the platform. And while I still feel like people who have been active for longer on the platform but are maybe less active or more commercial in the kind of content that they're doing should be brought along for the ride, it is an undeniable fact that the platform is just so big right now that there is so many creators and so many new creators and new videos posted every minute. The truth is that YouTube knows they just can't really keep up with that and provide the same level of customer service that they used to. And I think a lot of us have probably noticed that we have a harder time getting issues resolved by YouTube, a harder time getting in touch with partner support recently. So that when we have these issues with like fair use content, for example, when our channels or our videos are flagged inappropriately, when somebody is stealing our content, when somebody's spreading false rumors, all these things that inevitably happen on an open platform, that we have better recourse. And as creators, we never feel like our entire channel is in jeopardy because we can't get hold of the appropriate people at YouTube. Not to mention, if it does mean a higher overall experience for advertisers and more demand for ads, the rates basically go up for everyone, that actually would be a real benefit. Because as exciting as it is that as creators, we all have equal access to this platform, we are all broadcasters, we are all part of a network that is more influential right now than any given TV, cable, or even arguably Hollywood studio, we're still seeing essentially the same degradation of wages, if you will, associated with this line of work that everything else is that is affected by the gig economy. The way I look at it, YouTube is basically gig economyifying, if that's a phrase, the entertainment industry, along with other platforms that are similar. Just to be clear, YouTube has never suggested that they're making these changes because there's not enough revenue to go around or that this is even going to impact revenue for other creators. That's not part of the objective here. But speaking totally pragmatically, if I lose my $50 a month because somebody who is really trying to make a go of it gets that $50 a month and it contributes to their, meager $24,000, $25,000 a year, that it's just enough for them to squeak by as a full-time job, then I'm good with that actually. Because guess what? One day I would like to be that person making minimum wage, just creating content that I want to be creating. That's a great dream to strive for. And I would rather that some people can get to that level through, hard work and commitment than nobody can get to that level because everybody's in the same mud pit, just scraping all the sides off and making it impossible to climb out, just to use a weird mud analogy.
Don't beat up a fucking monkey! Take me up! Get out! We're getting all of this! Coco! Coco! Run! Run!
So in short, I'm happy if YouTube basically has the capacity to screen more content and make YouTube more viable and sustainable for advertisers. And last but not least, so many people are asking for major changes from this platform. Since the first Adpocalypse, I've seen creators at all levels really cry for change, ask YouTube to take steps to prioritize what they consider to be valuable content on the platform, and to disincentivize the creation of content that is not valuable and not helpful. And I think these policy changes is actually YouTube taking a step in that direction. Look, Google might not be the bastions of moral or ethical judgment like we would all like them to be, but you can't deny that they are the absolute kings of data, of internet content, of search engine optimization, and of understanding their users. And nobody is more qualified to be making these sorts of decisions than YouTube as managed by Google. And I know I'm gonna piss off some people by saying this, but I would even include Susan Wojcicki in that, because she's been a part of Google for a really long time and is absolutely qualified to be guiding this platform. The last reason though why I'm happy with these changes is frankly because it gives me a new goal to strive for. If anything, this has just pushed me more to really embrace YouTube as part of kind of my own, I guess, personal strategy moving forward. But realizing that the partner program actually has sort of more meaning now, that hopefully people in the partner program will get more support, but it's just a little bit harder to reach those goals. You know, 10,000 views, that was a goal that I set really early. I hit it way sooner than I thought I was going to. It was great to be able to monetize early, what I still consider really early in my YouTube career, if you want to call it that. But 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers actually sounds really tangible to me. It's something that, you know, now I basically have set the goal that I want to hit that, if at all possible, by the end of the year. That's really ambitious and aggressive, but I'm happy to have that goal now that I set my sights on, and it will just be a nice reward to regain monetization when I get there. Again, I would rather work harder for a partner program that works for me better than get easy entry into something that's not really working all that well for anyone. I know YouTube is hard work. It's not all fun and games. I'm preaching to the choir here, I hope, but we are so blessed to live in an age where we have access to this kind of technology. You know what I'm saying? Like, basically the idea that we can sit in our room and yak to ourselves in front of a camera and share it with potentially tens of thousands or millions of people for free, that we can upload videos in 4K definition, and we can post custom thumbnails to basically market and advertise our own content, that we know how to make things that people can find when they're searching for stuff on a particular topic, that we can educate people on complex subjects through the power of video, that we can all post videos more than 10 minutes. You know, when I remember when I was a kid posting things on YouTube, and there wasn't enough time for anything. Every video I posted was broken into 3 or 4 parts, and it was hard to kind of direct people from one video to another, and people would get lost on the way. And, you know, part 2 would have 4,000 views and part 1 only had 200 views. I mean, the platform's come a long way. As creators, actually, we have access to better tools and more tools than ever before. And so I think it's a really exciting time to be a YouTuber, money or no money, okay? I mean, it's really fascinating and exciting to me that the social media platform that I choose to engage with the most is also something that basically has taken over television and other forms of entertainment for me. So it provides both an outlet for me, and it provides input and entertainment. And I get all of that for free. That's pretty incredible. So I really do empathize if this is a big struggling block for you, if it's challenging, but it's a slippery slope to entitlement when we're talking about things that basically are still in the experimentation stages. And revenue, frankly, revenue sharing is still one of those things. So guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Just for some context, if you're curious, I passed the 4,000 hour threshold, I guess, quite a while ago, but I have, as of recording, still way less than 200 subscribers. So I realize I'm probably in the minority, but I wanted to share my thoughts as somebody who would be sort of a little bit affected monetarily, but is still really supportive of these changes. I want to end this video on a question for all my fellow new YouTubers, and that's basically, you know, the partner program now, I guess, will just incorporate monetization because we still have access to all these features that used to be reserved for the partners program. But I'm really curious, as a new YouTuber, what is the tool or feature that used to be part of the partners program that you are blessed to still have access to, even if you are no longer qualifying for the partners program come February? For example, longer form content, custom thumbnails, etc., etc. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you want to help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I will very much appreciate it. My name's Joseph, you've been watching my channel, Buzzcuts. And moving forward, this channel is mostly on filmmaking and graphic design, quick tips and tutorials, and essentially celebrating independent film and creative media. If you're a viewer, keep on viewing. If you're a YouTuber, keep on tubing. And I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much.